I never imagined the worst day of my life would start with one slammed door. The sharp crack of it echoed through the cramped apartment like a thunderclap, shattering whatever fragile sense of safety I'd clung to. I was just 16 when my mother's voice cut through the suffocating air. "You have to leave." Her words weren't laced with anger or despair. They were flat, delivered like a sentence from which there was no appeal. That single, cold command reverberated inside my skull for days, looping relentlessly like a broken record. I was no longer wanted, no longer part of the life I had known under the same roof where I'd taken my first steps, learned my first words, and dreamed my first dreams. Now, it was all gone. I remember the way the dim light of the hallway flickered unevenly as I shuffled through the rooms, gathering what little I could carry. My hands trembled as I stuffed a few worn clothes into a battered backpack, the fabric rough against my skin. In my chest pocket, I clutched a photograph, its edges curled and faded, the only image left of my father, who had vanished years before like a ghost. I held that picture close, as if my silent, absent dad might somehow shield me from the dark world that awaited outside our door. The smell of damp wood and stale air filled my nostrils, mixing with the faint, lingering scent of my mother's perfume, a scent that now felt like an accusation. Outside, the sky had already darkened, and the shadows grew longer, swallowing the narrow street with a creeping, suffocating silence. I didn't have a destination, no warm bed to run toward. Every step I took felt heavier, like I was sinking deeper into some endless abyss. The cold bit through the thin fabric of my jacket, and each breath came out as a mist, fragile and fleeting. The city around me felt alien, its usually comforting noises, the distant hum of cars, the murmur of neighbors, replaced by an unnatural stillness, almost like the world was holding its breath along with me. That night, the silence of an empty room became the loudest sound I'd ever heard. I sat curled on the cold floor of a deserted bus station, the harsh fluorescent lights flickering overhead. The concrete beneath me was unforgiving, and the chill seeped into my bones. Every creak, every distant footstep sent jolts of panic racing through my body. I kept hugging the photo, feeling its fragile presence as my only connection to a life that now felt shattered beyond repair. How did I get here? The question echoed inside my mind, unrelenting and cruel. More terrifying than the night or the cold was the uncertainty gnawing at my soul. How was I supposed to survive now? No one had prepared me for this. I was still a child in many ways, but the world wanted me to be an adult overnight. There were no comforting voices, no guiding hands, just the endless stretch of loneliness and fear. I had nowhere to run, no one to turn to. The city around me might as well have been a bottomless pit ready to swallow me whole. And as the hours dragged on, I realized something heartbreaking. Survival wasn't just about finding shelter or food anymore. It was about finding a reason not to give up. Growing up, my mother and I never had the easiest relationship. Our home was a small, shadowy apartment nestled between decaying buildings where the smog hung thick in the air and the sunlight seemed reluctant to enter. My mother moved through the rooms with a stiffness, her face a mask of fatigue and frustration, rarely softening long enough to meet my eyes. She was tough, often cold, a woman hardened by a life I never fully understood. There was little patience for me, a teenage girl desperate to be seen and heard beneath the weight of silence and unspoken disappointments. I longed for something simple, a hug, an apology, a word of kindness. But those moments were as rare as the warmth of the sun cutting through our window panes. After my father disappeared when I was 10, leaving behind only a blank space at the kitchen table and a lingering ache in my chest, everything changed. The man I had idolized, the one I believed would protect me, was gone, swallowed by whatever darkness had taken him away. My mother retreated even further into herself, shutting the door to her emotions, while I was left to wander the harsh edges of our confined world alone. The apartment felt smaller each day. The peeling wallpaper, the cracked linoleum floor, and the cold radiators were all I knew. It was in this suffocating cocoon that I began to lose myself. Books became my refuge, the only place where I could escape the weight pressing down on me and slip into worlds where light outshone darkness, where I belonged. I would bury my nose deep in pages worn thin by eager fingers, letting the characters' lives distract me from the hollow ache growing inside. But no matter how far I traveled through stories, reality would always slam back shut around me when I closed each book, leaving the walls to whisper cruel reminders of my loneliness. Then Daniel came into my life. I still remember the day, bright but biting cold, the kind of raw winter afternoon that sneaks into your bones. He wasn't like anyone I'd known before. At 15, he was quiet and observant, but there was a softness to him, a flicker of understanding behind his eyes. Unlike the people around me who recoiled at my brusque tone or distant stares, Daniel looked past the tough shell I carefully built to hide the terror inside. He saw the scared girl trembling beneath layers of defiance. I didn't know then what he would mean to me, a fragile thread holding me tethered to hope in a sea of despair. Even with Daniel's presence, the world outside was a place that felt vast and cruel, like a sprawling maze full of shadows waiting to close in. I used to sit by the grimy window of our shared rundown school library and watch the streets stretch on endlessly beneath the gray sky, a cold wind rattling the branches of the dying trees. It was in those moments of quiet desperation, staring into the unforgiving night, that I asked myself, how could someone so small, so fragile, survive in a world so big and merciless? The answer was nowhere to be found. All I knew was that the pain and fear inside me threatened to swallow me whole, but that dim light of Daniel's presence made me take one more shaky breath, one more hesitant step forward. The nights were the hardest. When darkness fell, the city transformed into some cold, predatory place, and I became just another shadow among many, invisible but vulnerable. I remember curling up in narrow doorways, the rough concrete biting into my skin through the threadbare jacket I clutched around myself. The cold seeped into my bones, sharp and unforgiving, as the biting wind whipped through empty streets, carrying with it the distant echo of footsteps that could be kindness or menace. Every gust felt like a warning whisper curling around me, reminding me how alone I truly was. My stomach churned constantly with hunger, the emptiness gnawing like claws that never retracted. I'd clasp my hands tightly to quiet the aching ache that twisted inside, focusing on the rhythm of my breath to distract myself from the growling void. Hunger wasn't just physical, it seeped into my mind, making every thought a little more desperate, every shadow a potential threat, every rustle of garbage in the alley, every distant bark of a stray dog sent jolts of panic racing through my veins. My heart drummed loudly, each beat matching the uneven rhythm of my quickened breaths in the freezing night air. Fighting off tears felt like a battle itself. I was raw, exposed, unraveling in ways I never imagined. But amid all this, Daniel became a persistent, fragile lifeline. Despite barely having enough for himself, he kept checking on me, showing up in those small moments like an unexpected flicker of light in a world swallowed by darkness. I could see the exhaustion drawing lines under his eyes, the strain etched into his features, but he never turned away. His voice, low but steady, was one of the few sounds that kept me tethered to hope. "Zilda, you're not alone," he would say softly. Sometimes I think I held on more for him than for myself, because in the depths of that misery, he gave me a reason not to disappear. There were times when I felt my spirit fracturing, breaking in pieces sharpened by betrayal, cold, and fear. I could see reflections of myself in the puddles lining the cracked streets, frail, scared, disappearing. But I refused to give up. Whatever that meant, whatever survival required, I promised myself this: I would not become a forgotten face, one more piece of brokenness swallowed up by the indifferent city. The moment that offered a sliver of light came when Daniel said something I still carry with me. "Zilda, you can stay with me. We'll get through this, together." The words felt heavy with something I had almost forgotten how to trust: genuine hope. It was the first time in months that the oppressive silence around me loosened its grip, as if the walls themselves softened for a breath. But beneath the fragile warmth of that promise lurked its own shadows, the risk of opening up, of leaning on someone when you had so much pain built up inside. Could trust really be enough to heal a heart so bruised? Could I let someone in without fracturing completely? I didn't have the answer, but clinging to Daniel's offer was like grasping a faint light in a vast, suffocating darkness, fragile, uncertain, but maybe strong enough to burn through the night. One evening, after weeks of burying the pain beneath a numb mask, the walls I had built around myself finally crumbled in front of Daniel. The room around us was dim, lit only by the fading amber glow of a street lamp filtering through the cracked window pane, casting long shadows that danced unsettlingly on the peeling wallpaper. The silence between us was thick, heavy with unspoken fears, until my defenses shattered with a rawness I couldn't contain any longer. My voice trembled as I spilled everything, the paralyzing fear that gripped me at night, the crushing loneliness that gnawed at my soul, the anger that burned fiercely beneath the surface like wildfire trapped behind ice. Daniel didn't say much. He just pulled me into his arms and held me there as I finally let the tears come, hot, unrelenting streams that soaked my trembling shoulders. His presence was steady, a quiet anchor in the storm raging inside me. In that moment, wrapped in his warmth, I realized with a flicker of startling clarity that I wasn't completely alone. There was someone who truly saw me, who accepted my brokenness without judgment. But even as relief began to unfurl within me, the real weight of our situation pressed down harder. The harsh truth hit me like a cold slap. Daniel's family didn't have much themselves. Their life was fragile, stretched thin by scarcity and hardship. The flickering hope his offer had ignited was shadowed by the stark reality that my survival wasn't just about finding shelter. It was entering a world where every small flicker of security was on borrowed time, fought for push by push. If I was going to carve out any kind of future, I had to fight harder than ever before, with a fierceness I wasn't sure I still had. The city's darkness no longer felt distant. It was suffocatingly close, and I sensed every step forward would be a battle against an unyielding tide. Desperation drove me to reach one last time for the one person who should have mattered most: my mother. I swallowed the knot in my throat and found the courage to stand outside her door, begging silently for even the smallest thread of understanding or mercy. But the door slammed shut in my face, a brutal echo reverberating in the cold night air, and this time, the finality was unmistakable. The sound wasn't just a rejection of my presence, it was a verdict, an irrevocable closing of a chapter. The slam resounded inside me long after I walked away, sharper than the bite of any bitter wind cutting through those desolate streets I had learned to navigate. That moment was a fracture in my soul, a point beyond which there was no going back. The rejection cut deeper than any cold night, any hunger pang, than the endless wilderness of loneliness that had come before. The pain was raw, but it stripped away any remaining illusions. I knew with terrible clarity then that no one else could save me. Not my mother, not the family I'd hoped to belong to. The path ahead was mine alone to walk. I had to save myself. The thought settled heavy in my chest, a bitter ember that smoldered with reluctant resolve. Survival wasn't just about enduring anymore. It was about fighting with everything I had, even when the shadows threatened to swallow me whole. And in that raw, unguarded moment beside Daniel, I made a silent vow to myself. No matter what darkness came next, I would not disappear. I would rise, even if it was from the depths of despair, and I would find the strength to reclaim my life. Today, as I sit in the quiet warmth of my home, I am surrounded by the soft hum of life, Daniel's gentle laughter mingling with the playful chatter of our two children echoing down the hall. The walls are painted a soothing cream, sunlight streaming through the curtains like a promise, casting long golden beams across the cozy furniture. It's a world so different from the dark alleyways and lonely nights that once filled my reality. Looking back, I can hardly believe how far I've come since I was kicked out at 16, thrust into a world that demanded I grow up too fast, stripped of any semblance of childhood innocence. Being abandoned so young stole that part of me, a cruel thief in the night who left behind jagged edges and restless whispers in the dark. But it also carved out something unexpected within me, a fierce resilience, a courage I never knew I had buried beneath my fear and doubt. The raw, biting cold of those first nights left scars. Yes, but it also forged a strength that helped me stand when I wanted to crumble. Sometimes the hardest lessons teach you what you're truly made of, and I'm living proof of that. If I could reach back through time and speak directly to that scared girl huddled on cold streets, desperate and trembling, I would say this: your story isn't over. No matter how thick the shadows grow around you, no matter how deep the night seems, you carry within you the power to change your path, to write your own future with hands that refuse to be broken. It's not an easy truth, and sometimes the weight of survival feels crushing, but there is always, always a flicker of light waiting in the darkness, even if you have to claw for it with every desperate breath. And the family you choose, those people who see you, stand with you, fight alongside you, they can become stronger than the family you were born into. Daniel became that for me, someone who stayed, who believed when I was drowning in fear. Together we built a life from the fragments of broken dreams and shattered hope. Our children fill those empty spaces now, their laughter a daily reminder that joy can rise from even the darkest beginnings. My past is a shadow that walks with me, a reminder of what I endured, but it does not define me. It shaped me, carved out the edges of my soul, and taught me to fight, not only to survive, but to hope. Hope for something better, something kinder. It gives me the strength to face each day with gratitude, to hold my family closer, and to believe that no matter how terrifying the night once was, the dawn always comes. And when it does, everything changes.